Gonna go, Guna fam, what's good? We're back. Match day review with our resident Nobile. Yeah, Aston Villa nil. Aston Villa 1, Arsenal nil. So yeah, Villa pulled a double over us, man. How did you make what did you make of the game? And yeah, it was a tough one to go through, especially from Wolves in midweek.
Yeah, it was a tough one to go through because we were obviously we were hoping as Arsenal fans to see a response from the team, to see our team bounce back after a disappointing defeat midweek in a game that we had dominated. So we were hoping to at least, if anything, see us carry on playing the football that we had played in the previous match. And yeah, it was literally one silly error really off the blocks. I think it was like 90 seconds into the match. Cedric gives away a routine ball and Traore straight in. And then Ollie Watkins has a deflected finish into the back of the net. And that was pretty much curtains after that, because post that, Villa didn't really look to attack us. They were just looking to hit us on the break. They would just sit back because they kind of know that Arsenal really struggles to break teams down. And if you've got a very good defense, is what Aston Villa does, and you play a low block, your chances of success are relatively high. So for me, it was very vital going into that game that we try to keep things tight, don't concede early, so that Villa can open up, and then with the game opening up slightly, we've got more chances of creating goal scoring opportunities. But that went out the window with Gordon. Villa were just happy to sit back, absorb the pressure, and hit us on the break. And kudos to them. I think they played quite well. They weren't really overstretched. We were a bit off key as well on our end. But this is a very, very, as much as I'd hate to admit it, this is a very, very strong Villa side. Well, by strong, I don't mean like they're world beaters, they're Champions League side, but for where we are at the moment, they're a very formidable opponent for us, because it's kind of the level where we're at. And a lot of people actually argue that these guys are, on paper, a better side than us in terms of their first 11. This is our first 11. It's very, very close, if not, they probably edge it slightly. So, yeah, disappointing results. But yeah, hopefully the guys will bounce back. Just now the wait. We're not used to waiting a whole week for a fixture.
I think we're not used to waiting. Also, early game. I don't know if these early games are cursed, because the late games we do well in.
What late games? You don't do well at 10. What are you talking about?
The stats are better then.
Yeah, what you want us to just play 3 o'clock kickoffs in the UK? 5 o'clock, 5 and 6 matches. That's it. That's all that we must play.
Yeah, but let's break down the game a bit. So a few changes, obviously, with the team going in with Leno out, Luiz out, and then obviously Cedric manning the left back row. What did you like in terms of the first half? Obviously, you spoke about the early mistake, but from that time on, as you said, Villa kind of sat back, but we had chances in the first half. I felt we were a bit lacking that kind of clinicalness, in the first third, in the first half. But then the second half, we just came out all guns blazing. And what was your take, obviously, on whatever I just spoke? And why couldn't we just get that goal? What was missing for us to just get that goal, just to seal it up and sneak a win,
Yeah, so I think we were a bit tentative in the way we approached the game, in terms of the passing was not as crisp, as quick, and as decisive as it was against Wolves. And we did give away the ball a few times quite sloppily. And whenever we seem to have like a throw in, it always seems like we will give the ball straight. We'll kick it straight out for another throw into the opposition, or we'll give the ball away. That's one thing I've noticed of late, especially on Bellerin's side. Seem to lose a lot of balls. If anything, like if you can restrict Arsenal to throw-ins, you've got a good chance of turning over possession and catching them and catching us on the break as an opposition side. And I think that's one area a lot of these sides are actually starting to target us in, is that whenever we concede, whenever we've got a throw in, they look to pressurize us, press us. Those 3 or 4 players that are quite close will look to press them and try to win the ball there, because they kind of know that we're not really up to scratch in that sphere. And then they're willing to do that and then leave the players that are maybe on the far end of the pitch unmarked, because they know that they could always recover and track them back if the ball happens to make it there, which it hardly ever does anyway. But yeah, so as back to the question, the guys were a bit, as I was saying, a bit tentative, a bit slow and stale up front in the first half. And yeah, decision making was quite poor. Look, we were quite unlucky, I think, with a few calls as well. On another day, maybe you can argue that the tackle Konsa makes on Saka could lead to a red, but I mean, we know these English refs are a bit inconsistent, so by letter of the law, you probably say a red, I think. But for me, also, it's one of those ones which is harsh. But because we've seen them given in the past, and putting your Arsenal bias hat on, you'd be like, hey, but that should have been a red. If that was David Luiz, would he have seen a different color card? But yeah, so I mean, also things like that conspired against us. But I think I think the guys were just a bit lethargic. Maybe they were still a bit sleepy in the first half. But yeah, second half, I think things looked a lot better, a bit more incisive. The substitution that Teta made to take off, please take off again now, I forgot. Oh, it took off Laka. I was a bit, actually the Laka one.
I was also a bit down that, yeah.
I would have taken off Bellerin. Bro, I don't know what Bellerin's got over.
I would have taken off Pepe to be.
Nah, but Pepe at least offers a goal threat.
But then I say that, but then he fired as soon as Aubameyang came on, so I was like, hey.
Yeah, Bellerin does nothing. He can't defend. He offers nothing going forward. He offers nothing going defensively. Take off Bellerin. Put Saka. You know what I'm saying? And then push Aubameyang up front.
I felt when Aubameyang came on, we lost that link-up play. They tried to play through, but we kind of lost that link-up play.
We lost the link-up play, but we gained the overloads on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Because Saka was.
I mean, Willian looked decent for like 2 minutes.
So, but as I was saying, when Willian came on, that's when the game truly died. Because Willian, unlike Pepe, he wasn't making those runs. And he seemed like he was passing backwards. I mean, we were looking at the stats on the group.
And it also felt like they were fine giving him the ball. When they gave him the ball, they didn't press it. They were like, keep the ball. It's fine.
Because they know that he holds onto the ball too long, so it gives opportunity to the opposition to track back mark. He doesn't run in behind. He passes backwards. So, and he killed a lot of our momentum. But prior to that, I think we were starting to look like we were playing some good stuff. I think Arteta's subs, the 2 subs he had made leading up to that were good. And then the final sub, I think, which was enforced on him, kind of killed any momentum that we had. He probably would have looked to, if Partey hadn't been injured, he probably would have looked to take off Pepe, I reckon. That's the only real substitution. Or maybe he would have taken off probably Smith Rowe. Yeah, we probably would have taken off Smith Rowe then and put in. But I would have just, because I think for me,
Pepe, make of Odegaard?
Look, Odegaard came on, had some nice touches, but as soon as we lost that structure in midfield, where when we were just left Xhaka by himself, when Partey came off, when we lost that structure in the middle. It was finished. We had lost control of the ball in the middle. Then he wasn't able to get on the ball as much as he was prior to Partey coming off. So, look, I mean, the initial signs were good. He had that chance which he blazed over the bar as well. But yeah, he looks like a good acquisition. So by that, I mean that he looks like he's settled in. He's up to pace of the league. He looks suited to the Premier League in terms of he's quick. He looks relatively physical. He looks like he doesn't mind the physical stuff. Looks like he doesn't mind rolling up his sleeves and pressing players and tracking back and all that stuff that Arteta wants. But yeah, it's just going to be now about the opportunities that he gets between now and the end of the season for him to prove or to prove his worth to the team. Because I'm just still a bit skeptical about Arteta and his so-called favorites in terms of there's certain players like, for me at the moment, Willian, Bellerin, Xhaka to a certain extent, but at least Xhaka now is starting to play decently, so all the heat is kind of off him. But he seems to have certain players that he has an undying love for and a misplaced faith in. And I don't know why. Like, some of these players have been performing poorly for a while, but he seems to persist with them. And then ultimately, I think they're going to lead to his downfall at the end of the day. Look, Cedric is not the greatest right back as well. He doesn't really do a lot defensively, yes. But I think the one thing he has over Bellerin is that when he gets into those advanced positions, he delivers quality balls. And he's able to make the right decisions, and he's able to overlap and get into play. Whereas when Bellerin plays, he seems to make underlapping runs. You're finding him in midfield areas during that game, and you're asking yourself, well, this guy doesn't have the skill set to do these. He's not like a João Cancelo who can jink past people, can pick out a pass, has got a good shot, who can afford to either go on the overlap or on the underlap because he's got that skill set, or Kyle Walker, who can kind of do that as well. Bellerin is very limited as a football player. And even though he takes up great positions, I won't lie, he takes up great positions when he's in the middle, out wide. But because he's so poor on the ball, he ends up giving the ball away or passing it backwards, you know what I'm saying, or taking the shot when he should have passed. So for me, I think that's one area that Arteta needs to now address. But I'm just worried that he won't. Just purely because I think there's certain favorites that he has who he seems to trust wholeheartedly and without question. And I think some of those players are going to ultimately lead to his downfall.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Willian was and and it looks like it's others, but hopefully they all step up. Sorry, you were just about to say something.
Yeah, so I was going to say that, but on the balance of play, I mean, Villa deserved to win. I won't lie and say that we were the better team. We weren't. So it was a very even contest. There were periods where we dominated. There were periods where they dominated. But the game was pretty much played in the middle third of the field. And they had probably the best chances out of the two sides. But all of those chances were on the break. And Matt Ryan made a few key saves, and to keep us in the game. But ultimately, it proved to not be enough at the end of the day. But yeah, so hopefully guys can regroup. Look, they've got a week's rest now, so hopefully Arteta can work on a lot more things that he saw that he doesn't. And he's got more time to prepare for what will be a tough match against Leeds at home. Look, now obviously it doesn't really matter when you're playing a team home or away these days because the crowd's not there. So it's more just maybe about the traveling and the familiarity of the change room. But a lot of these change rooms are these stadiums are quite posh these days. It's not like you at Scunthorpe sitting on a park bench as the away team or something, So I mean that really doesn't play into it. It's the fan element which has gone away, which now actually leads to the games not really mattering whether it's home or away. If anything, a lot of teams are picking up more points away from home than they are at home. So for me, it doesn't matter really that we're playing at home. If anything, probably puts a lot more pressure on us to win, psychological pressure for us to win. But for me, in actual fact, it shouldn't. It's basically like a neutral. It should be treated as a neutral venue, a once-off cup tie, where we should be going at it and looking to get the maximum results. Because obviously, if Leeds win today, they overtake us, I think, and we go back into the bottom half of the league. So, which I think they probably will do. They'll probably end up winning. So this game will probably be critical that we come up with 3 points against the Leeds side. But it's going to be very, very difficult. A very tough side, very quick, likes playing that high press, high tempo fixture. So our midfield and our back line is going to be is going to have to be very, very mindful of that and up to speed. And we can't afford to make sloppy, careless passes. Can't be caught dwelling on the ball, because these guys will punish us. And what's going to be very vital in this game is whether Partey is fit or not. I highly doubt he'll be fit as well. So now Arteta's got that choice of whether he's going to go with El Neni and Xhaka in the middle, which is going to be very, very difficult then for us to create any chances. I think if we have that midfield duo, but it might give us a bit more solidity versus a Ceballos Xhaka combination, which might be a bit more. If we anticipate we're going to have a lot more of the ball, might give us a bit more control in midfield. But with that being said, though, we might then end up giving a lot more chances on the break, and we might be a bit more vulnerable chasing back towards our own goal.
Yeah, no, valid points there. But just from the Wolves game and this game, the performances, yeah, we didn't win. But what did you make of like the way we tried? Like in the Wolves game, we just kept trying and trying, and also in Villa's game, we just kept.
Wolves game.
We didn't really have something to get us over the line. Just get the goal.
Look, I think
the fight is there, and we're just not finishing. What do you think it is?
Yeah, Villa kept us at arm's length in that game. Look, I mean, as I was saying, the Wolves games were exceptional. We were very, very unlucky to not come away with anything, and obviously a few individual errors probably cost us what would have been a good 3 points. In the Villa game, it was very, very. It was almost like we reverted back to our November type form, where we were not as fluid as going forward. Pass was a bit more tentative, gave the ball away. But I mean, as I was saying, that Villa did do their homework. They brought in Marvelous Nakamba in there, whose legs kind of he was able to nullify a lot of the work that Thomas Partey and Emil Smith-Rowe do in those pockets and the driving runs that they're both capable of making. And to be quite honest, I think it was one of those where because we didn't play as quickly as we had been recently and we weren't as incisive, we ended up ultimately not really creating much and ended up losing the game. Because obviously if our front four don't move around quickly and don't pass precisely and aren't able to find those pockets, we can't really rely on our midfield to be able to pick up the ball, drive, beat a couple of men, and then thereby creating space and pulling people out of position that way. So I mean, hopefully the key to our success in these games is that we don't concede, because as soon as we concede, it's very, very difficult for us when teams revert into a low block for us to break them down. I think we struggle when we're a bit more comfortable when the teams are also more or less chasing the game or open to, to being a bit more open so that they could pick up the points. Or get a goal scoring opportunity. Then that at least leaves us with the ability to hit them on the break, and there's a bit more spaces on the park, But as soon as I don't even recall us coming back from being a goal down this season to pick up points. I stand to be there's no game that comes to mind.
I think the West Ham game might be the one that
I think that might be the only game, right? Where but I think did we not score first in that West Ham game, and then they equalized, and then we scored the winner, Eddie Nketiah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But I just need to check. I need to check that. But there's no game that I can recall where we went down a goal and we came back to win the match this season. But I'll just say I'll double check that. And if there are, it might be like 1 or 2 at most. I mean, we have only won 9 games, so I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but you are right. The low block is becoming a problem. Even when teams just set up to defend against us, it does become difficult to get around them and put chances through. that I've seen. But moving on to Leeds, and you did touch on about it, but there's two positions that are probably key, as you mentioned, Partey. But for me, it's the left back role now. If
Yeah.
he's not fit, do we go with Cedric?
He won't be. He won't be fit, and we're gonna have to go with Cedric again. I don't want to see
Saka there.
Saka there unless we're chasing the game. Do you understand what I'm saying? So unless like we're a goal down, it's like 70th minute, and we're going hell for leather now, whether we lose 1-0 or 2-0 or 3-0 doesn't matter. Then yes. But
you don't feel that the fluidity on the left gets killed by Cedric.
No, but the thing is that also Saka is not.
Foot, I would say.
But Saka's not that good defensively. So I think that if he's got Pepe on his left, if we've got Pepe on the left or Saka on the left, with Cedric, then at least we still are able to have that
left footer,
because that left footer on the left hand side who can create the width, who can run in, who's comfortable to run in behind and not necessarily have to cut in. Whenever they get the ball.
The other person I wanted was Odegaard. Do you think he should start or still keep him on the bench?
I think it might be a bit too early. Look, unless maybe Emil is in the red zone and maybe they're feeling that, because obviously, as you say, that he is a bit injury prone.
And he looks the last two games.
And so unless quite literally we're planning on saving him for like when we play, I think we play City after Leeds. So unless maybe we've got that in mind that we want him to be fully fresh, I would still stick with Emil for this match, and maybe look to bring in Odegaard a bit later on, and then maybe going into the Man City match, maybe have him starting that game. But I don't know, look, I think that both players are kind of more or less at the same level. I think, look, Smith hasn't done anything poorly enough to warrant him being dropped. So for me, any reason to drop him will be purely from a rotational basis, in that maybe they can see that he might be reaching that red zone a bit and he might be susceptible to picking up a little niggling injury on his end. But going back to Saka, I really like him on the right-hand side because he's got that ability to go on his left and on his right effectively, whereas Pepe, his right foot is not really as strong, and he heavily favors his left-hand side. So teams are, whenever he's on the left, whenever he's on the right, teams kind of shepherd him to his right-hand side, and they know that he's not really going to deliver anything of any quality with the cross. They limit him to shots or crosses with his right foot, and the angle's really against him as well because it's on his right-hand side. And you've seen him every time he's had opportunities on the right, where sometimes you've seen him fire a few shots and they end up usually going well past the near post when he has it on his right foot. I recall, I think, an opportunity where the ball landed on, where it got blocked when he tried hitting it, and then it landed on his right foot, and he smashed it first time. And it's also like his decision making in that, for me, is a bit poor in that space. Whereas if it was Saka there, you can kind of see him trying to square that ball across for someone to tap it in. And I think if I recall this opportunity I'm talking about, I think Lacazette. Yeah, this was the first half. Lacazette wasn't in a good space, and he was actually calling for the ball. If it had been played across him, he might have had a tap in to equalize. So I like Saka on that side because, as I was saying, he can finish quite decent. His right foot is quite decent. His left foot is also quite good. Obviously, it's not as good as Pepe's, probably in terms of him being able to tuck and shift it onto his left and curl and bend one in to the top corner. But his left foot is good enough. And he's able to come short and also go in behind. Whereas Pepe is playing on the right, he seems to always want to come short. Whereas what I've liked about him on the left is that he's varied it. He looks a bit more comfortable there, and he varies his play. He's able sometimes comes short, sometimes goes in behind. And whenever he does go in behind, for me, with the angles that usually the balls come in at him, he's able to actually control it a lot easier first time on his left, and then be able to play more inside. Whereas a lot of times when he's called on the right hand side, when the ball's maybe bending from in to out, he struggles to control those balls with his right hand, with his right foot. So yeah, so there's a lot of that as well, where he seems to need to take an extra touch when he's on his right side to set, and then by the time the opposition has closed him down. So yeah, but I would like to see them. I'd like to see the front three that we went with go again against the one we had against Villa, and then maybe it's just a toss-up between Odegaard and Emil. I really think that both are. I wouldn't be upset if either, like, if anyone gets left out or anyone starts. Yeah, I think they're both, as I was saying, operating at more or less a similar level at the moment. And yeah, but that's going to be, I think, as I was saying, that that selection will be made with the coming fixtures in mind, the Benfica and the Man City fixture.
Yeah. Hey, then those are two big fixtures for us. So we got Leeds and Benfica and Man City. Yeah, it's a tough few weeks coming off. Not the best week. I would say it's not the best week for us, but yeah, I don't know. It was a tough one to go through, and I think everyone says it. When it's the worst when you play an early game, because kind of spoils your weekend. But but as you said, sorry.
So I was going to say, actually, another thing we didn't touch on is what defensive pairing are we going to go with? Because for me, as I was saying, Gabriel, and I'm still not sure about the Gabriel Holding relation. On paper, they're the best partnership we have, right? But I think they really struggle with communication, and they seem to get caught out of position quite a lot when they're playing with each other. And then at the end of the day, Gabriel's athleticism usually bails us out in terms of he's able to put in last-ditch tackles and stuff like that. So I don't know whether Arteta will go back to Luiz playing there. Maybe he might even go with Murray, but Murray has been injured for quite some time. Because for me, I think ideally, I would have liked to see maybe, because Arteta likes going with a left foot, right footer, I probably would have said that we looked our best when Murray was playing with Holding. Both of them kind of understood each other's strengths. They could both communicate quite well, because we all kind of figure that Murray can speak English quite decently, given his spell that he had spent at Man City. So they seem to be able to cover quite well for each other. They understand each other's limitations and stuff. And Murray is not really as error-prone as David Luiz. So you get the same with David Luiz and Holding. They kind of know each other's strength, are able to cover for each other. But David Luiz always has that one mistake in him, in a match, which might ultimately cost us the game. Be it a rash challenge, a miscued clearance, or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what
on a different scale by referees. Is that another?
And there's also that he's got a pretty bad rep when it comes to those type of things, and he's really, to be quite honest with him, he really hasn't gotten the rub of the green when it comes to a lot of these decisions. And I think it is based on his rep, and these refs have admitted that they do take that into account, which for me, it is human nature, but you kind of admitting that you're biased towards.
Yeah. It's like before the game even starts, you're like, I'm probably going to give this guy a yellow card,
Yeah.
We always like this.
Yeah.
The same thing with Xhaka as well, I suppose,
Yeah.
Pretty much the exact same thing. But he's actually, I haven't really mentioned, he's actually had past few games, I think from Palace or even from Chelsea. But when he's come back since his suspension, he's actually looked a lot decent. I think maybe Partey or some of the guys he paired with saved him at times. But that shot against Aston Villa, that free kick, it wasn't, I know it would have been amazing if it went in, but it was a good challenge, a good shot, So it's actually kind of picked his game up. And what did you make around him coming back and what he's doing? And do you think now that the midfield is Xhaka with someone, is that what Arteta sees? Well, what's your make of Xhaka?
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, he's still got a lot of limitations, right? I think he doesn't have a lot of pace, not really good in the tackle, even though he's been tackling a lot better of late. He's not mobile, can't carry the ball, can't drive, can't dribble. His main attributes is passing and his shooting, and he hardly shoots these days as well. Gets into quite advanced positions, but he never takes a shot.
Yeah.
For some reason. So literally now it's his passing, and because he's left-footed, he fills in quite well in those left-back positions. But in those positions, I think he's been quite lucky of late that a lot of the tackles, when the guys have been running it at him, he's been able to stick in his left peg. And actually, when the ball was in the past, he was getting done whenever he was caught in those positions. A lot of the players were breezing past him. I think the Leicester game actually comes to mind, where guys were just lobbing the ball past him or breezing past him and getting in behind and then scoring off of him playing on that left-hand side whenever our fullbacks push up. But I think of late, he's been getting the timing of his tackles quite right. He's been getting it correct in those positions that stood him in good stead. Ultimately, I would still like an upgrade on him, but I can't knock him. Look, I think he's done a job. In that position, you wouldn't say that he's been extraordinary in terms of like world standards, but yes, for his standards, he's probably been playing some of the best football we've seen him play. As I said, I'd still like him to maybe take a bit more risks in some of the passes that he plays, in terms of actually releasing the ball a lot quicker, playing it, looking forward more rather than with his first intensity to retain possession by just playing the safe pass. But yeah, I think his resurgence has been coupled with Partey being in the team. I think Partey provides him with a lot more freedom to do what he does. He's not really concerned that his midfield partner won't be able to cover him when he does make those progressive runs. And Partey is also very good at the ball. So Partey can drop deep, pick up the ball, he can drive at people, he can play the pass as well. And that's one element of Partey's game that people seem to not really notice, is that he's a very, very good passer of the ball as well. He recycles possession quite well and keeps things ticking over. And when things aren't happening and when the pass is not on, he will generally look to antagonize and look to drive at people to create opportunities and pull people out of position. So look, I will judge him now that Partey's out. I think this will be kind of a good yardstick to measure Xhaka in terms of has he really come full circle, or will he revert back to type once he starts playing with the more inferior midfielders in El Neni? Well, I wouldn't say Ceballos is inferior, but yeah, if he is, let's say, paired with El Neni, will he be able to carry on doing the good work that he's been doing, or will he revert back to being a bit more cautious?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we'll just have to see. I think only time shall tell. He has changed our mind, but he can always change our mind back. So I think Willian takes the Xhaka trophy for now. They might
I don't even know how Willian is making it into that match day 22 or whatever it is now. What's it, match day 23 or 22 or whatever it is.
Yeah. They got like
numbers
9
keep on the numbers. Yeah, it's match day 20. It's 20 now because it's 9 subs and 11. Yeah. So yes, that match day, that match day squad of 20. Yeah, because he's offering absolutely nothing, and my worry is that Arteta keeps on persisting with him instead of trying some of these other options he's got. I mean, he's leaving guys like Reece Nelson completely out of the squad of late. Obviously, Tierney is still injured, but so it's going to be quite interesting to see, like, once your likes of Tierney come back, is he going to keep Willian still in there? Because I'd think that I would like to, if anything now, probably see like your Reece Nelson maybe coming in, maybe giving Willian a bit of a breather, take him out of the squad, maybe like for the game like this, yeah, maybe put in Nketiah into the squad because Nketiah wasn't in the matchday squad, I think, this past week. I stand to be corrected, but I don't recall seeing him on that. So maybe leaving him out, Willian out, and maybe rewarding some of these younger guys who are the future of the club, and seeing maybe that we can, because it's not like when we bring Willian on, he's going to offer anything different. So what these kids are doing, I rather pay the kids and at least they're learning. You know, if anything, when we bring on William, we're killing off the game for ourselves. You know, so yeah. So I'd like to see some of these kids who literally they make one mistake and they're out the squad. I'd like to see them given a bit more of an opportunity, and Arteta stop trusting some of these senior players that have let him down time and time again.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I think.
Yeah, but to his point, he might point at Jacques and say, "Look, you see, he's playing well, so I'm going to persist."
He uses him as an example quite often.
They'll come right. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, you know, it's what we can talk about right now. Only mostly our players, because results are not going the way we wanted to. But yeah, on to Leeds. Thanks so much, Nobile. Maybe I'll catch you at Brazenhead, you know, or next match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always great.
Either that or Man City. I think if I don't make it, I think Man City. Yeah.
Maybe Man City might just be a better one because I'm trying to like go every 2 or 3 games. I don't want to like go week in, week out because
because the Man City is also 6:30 kickoff like the Leeds one.
Yeah, so it will be bigger. You know, Leeds.
It's only going to be on a Sunday.
But still, it's fine. I can.
But we might catch a hiding. We might catch hands like Liverpool.
You know.
Probably will catch. Not even we might. We'll probably.
Yeah, Leeds have been on form. I think they won their last. No, they're playing today.
Yeah, they're playing today.
But they won their last.
I was mentioning Man City that might be a bit somber when you head there. Might be on the wrong end of like a 4-1 defeat or something like.
And I think we're going to City. Yeah, I think we're going to City.
No, we're playing them at home.
At home.
But as I say, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, no. You know, those guys are firing, bro. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Once again, thanks, Nobile. It's me, Kish. It's Nobile. Matchday review show. Aston Villa 1, Arsenal 0. Yeah, another one. But you catch us again. We out.